Hello there folks, and welcome back to another video. In this one we're going to be looking at something that I consider a little bit of a hidden gem within the world of Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and one that I just had to pick up last year because I'd heard such good things about it from hearing a certain James Hewitt talk about it on various podcasts and things like that, and that is Gorechosen. It also helps that I am a massive fan of Khorne and bloodshed and all that kind of stuff anyway, which is always worth diving into. But this is Gorechosen, which was one of the board games they did for Warhammer Age of Sigmar back when that was the logo. And it is a game of brutal arena combat in the Age of Sigmar. Now, I picked this up second-hand off eBay, and as far as I can tell, everything is in here, which was quite cool. So you get this very nice box there with the lovely Khorne symbol in the middle there. Would be nice to roll your dice into. Very cool indeed. You obviously get the rule book, which is quite nice, which we'll dive into in a little bit in a second. You get 4 characters in this particular box set. So you get Heldrax Gore-Touched, Core Hammerskull, Vexnar the Reaper, and Red Arg Bloodfane. So 4 characters there, which will be great for slotting into your Blades of Khorne army anyway, but a nice way for you to get you started. They also included some additional rules for various other characters from the Khorne Champions lineup regardless. So 4 things to get you started. They're the ones that came in the box. You have this wonderful tracker which tracks your wrath. So it starts here and then it goes up and down as you spend it, as you kill things or you are crap at killing things. That goes in there, which is quite cool. And again, more beautiful artwork on the back. They really did not skimp when it came to the artwork for this game. You then have the arena itself, which comes in 2 flavours. So you get this version here, which comes with a couple of different hazards, as you can see there, slotted on there, with the big Khorne symbol in the middle. And then, whoop-ow! We have the other side, which comes with a few more different pitfalls for you to get there, and a different design on it, a little bit darker as well, but a nice little board there too, with, again, beautiful artwork, which is quite cool. So yes, nice stuff there when it comes to that. I suppose I should show off the models. So here are the various characters and things that you can get. So I painted these folks up last year, got them all ready and raring for the tabletop. Had a good little bit of fun painting them up and adding them into the mix. Look at those guys. I really enjoy painting Khorne because they tend to be dudes with a lot of flesh on show. So even though the majority of them do still wear the armour with all the trim, you also get guys like this who don't have all the trim, and you get to play around with something else a little bit different, which is quite cool, like scar tissue and stuff like that. You've also got this guy who is a little bit more demonic, a little bit more gifted, and again, that was really cool working on the scar tissue for him in the middle. Went for a very generic sort of like wasteland basing for him, because that kind of matches up with the rest of the stuff I've got for the Blades of Khorne. But a nice option there as well. And these guys are kind of based on some of the official artwork, but also just me messing around and having a little bit of fun with it as well. So really cool there too. That is his anvil, which he uses as a big flail, which is pretty badass. There we go. Khorne never do things by halves. So yes, you also get all of your dice, you get all of your tokens, which you use for adding wounds, also tracking your characters and things like that. You get your action cards, which we'll come back to in a second, but you have some options there too. Very nice. Lots and lots of those for you to choose from. Action cards in abundance. And then you have your critical injury cards as well, for when you do nasty things to your opponent. You have your initiative cards there too, for deciding when your turn is going to come up. So, how does Gorechosen actually work then? Well, it's based around the idea of you guys all being stuck in a bout to see who is the bestest in the eyes of Khorne, and that involves smashing skulls, breaking heads, spreading blood all over the place and everything else. Again, I mean, seriously, look at the bloody artwork in this. I mean, that's cool enough as it is, but how badass is this? I want to know who the artist for this was, because this is bloody lovely. I mean, obviously this is official stuff that you would have seen in the battle tomes and things. But the artwork they've done for all these different characters is just... I mean, this is so cool. giving you this kind of like comic book style approach to the different Khorne warriors. And I also like that you get the little bit of fluff about them as well, where they talk about sort of how they fight and sort of things like that. So you can kind of maybe add that into how you play. So when you do play, you set up the board, you choose one of the markers to be your own, you set up all the wrath things and all that kind of stuff. And it's actually quite a simple process, really, of deciding how you play. So during the prepare phase, you will have your 24 action cards, which are these things here. You will get a hand of those, and then you'll discard the rest of them out of the game. And then on your turn, you'll simply go through the initiative cards, which are these ones here, and you'll see they each have a symbol on them. So you'll flip over that, and whoever's symbol comes up is the person that gets to take their action. And when you take an action, you simply look at your action cards that are available to you in your hand. So you might have these ones here, for example. And you will decide which one of the 3 actions you're going to do on your turn. And now I must stress, you can only do one of those actions. So if you move, you're not going to do Mighty Strike, or you're not going to do the unique action, etc. And all that kind of stuff, right? So you have to bear that in mind as you go through. So as it says here, drawn from the table, revealing an action card in their hand, choosing one and only one of its actions to be resolved as described over the page, and then discarding the card. You'll notice you have your little front arc there and all that kind of stuff as well, which is quite good. So you'll resolve one of those, and then you will flip over and you will do it again, basically. So when it comes to your various actions that you can do, you have the option to do a move, and when you move from your hex into a hex based on where you are. So you might back up, you might stride forward, you might run, and it tells you the distance that you can do as well, which is quite handy. The arrow that you then see in there dictates where you must face at the end of your movement. So it doesn't dictate that you must go, well, I mean, this allows you to go anywhere. This means you must go, that means you can face anywhere. That means you must face forward from where you went into the hex. So you've got to bear that in mind when you're diving into the game and playing it out, as you can see. So as you can see there, when you resolve a move action, you can move your fighter up to the number on the hexes shown on the action. You can move in any direction, but you cannot move into a hex that is occupied by another model or a patron obstruction. Once you're moved, set your facing according to the facing icon that you saw there, and then you dive back in and have some fun. You then have the attack actions. They're based on the dice that you can see there. So you've got strong attack, mighty strike, you've got kick, which is slightly different. Push a fighter in your front arc. Your opponent must then discard a card from their hand at random. Crippling blow, shove, desperate swing, probing attack, backstab, which is quite cool. You will also see that this is how many dice you're going to be rolling for your attack. But then if we look at one of the characters, or a couple of the characters actually, you'll see that they have very different kill zones. So these kill zones dictate how they deal with the enemy. So for example, you can see here, that's the kill zone for Core Hammerskull, who is slightly worse off at hitting people right next to him, but he's much better at hitting things further away. So as you can see, when he's healthy, to hit when it's in that dark blue section, hits on 3s, does 3 wounds. Hits in the light blue section, hits on 5s, because you're kind of getting just a chain, and he does 3 wounds there regardless anyway. But you can also see that you've got things like build momentum, add 2 to your wounds value for the stack only, blah, blah, blah. You've got Heldrax Goretouched, who has different sets there as well. So when he's healthy, fights like that. And you've got the different cleave abilities and things there too as well, which is quite cool. Vexnar, there's his, so he just hits in that front arc. And then you have Redguard Bloodfang, who is much better right up front, but it can hit to the side as well if you so desire, which is quite cool. So yes, some fun stuff there for each of those different characters, which is very nice. I think they have done a little bit of an FAQ on one of these characters, I think, but it's on Board Game Geek, I believe. See if I can find it to talk about it. You'll also notice that you have healthy and wounded signs. When you take certain damage, which might come from critical injuries, which is what you get here, but let's get rid of those initiative cards. You have things like critical injuries there that will slide the damage markers on your cards. So it'll slide it from healthy well, from wounded to healthy. So that's now how you do your actions, which I think is a little bit of a nice way of sort of planning that out, which is quite cool. You'll also see that some of these cards have the Wrath cost added onto the card, which shows you whether or not your Wrath goes up or down, depending on whether or not you've been hit. Same goes for these as well. So obviously doing a Mighty Strike costs 2 Wrath. If you can't spend the Wrath, you can't do it, which is quite nice. Very cool indeed. But then when you do these attacks, you might also get the ability to do things like parry or outmaneuver or feint or duck and that kind of thing. So you can play your cards out ahead of time in order to use one of those abilities to avoid the damage. You will also have the ability to drop 2 cards during your action to do the unique action of the character. So, for example, you could drop 2 for Red Arg, Blood Feint to do the Bull Charge, discard any 2 action cards to take this action, push the fighter on your front arc and move into the hex they left, then steal an action card from that player's hand, adding it to your own. Very cool indeed. Once you do damage to your opponent, so for example if you meted out a fearsome 5 damage or something like that, you will look at your opponent's card and you will mark off where their health goes down to. Once it hits the bottom, any extra, you then put a wound marker on the top of your health thing, and that effectively cancels that out, and then you start your health from the next space down. This continues through, so you've got plenty of time to keep killing everybody and all that kind of thing, until you cannot fill your space with any more wound markers, and in that case, you are dead. Now that might be like, boo, I'm out of the game. However, that's not all, because when you have been slain, this is the side of the card that you use. Though your fighter has fallen in the arena, they may still have a part to play. Your followers and supporters line the arena wall, crying for vengeance, and perhaps the Blood God himself will heed their call. When your initiative card comes up, roll a dice and take a look at the result on the table. Ignominy. Your supporters beat their chests and sink to their knees in anguish at your humiliating defeat. Frustration. Your supporters howl in fury, distracting one of the fighters, pick an opponent, then discard a card at random from their hand. Interference. One of your supporters hurls a weapon at a fighter of your choice, inflicting D3 wounds before being torn asunder for daring to interfere. And then, if we go all the way to the end, vengeance. You lurch to your feet, suddenly gifted unnatural strength. Set up your fighter anywhere on the board, then make a 2-dice attack, using the wounded boxes in your fighter's reference cards. Then you remove your fighter again. So you surge forth and you do extra more damage, which is quite cool. During the prepare stage of subsequent rounds, you are not dealt an action card, but you still put 2 initiative cards into the initiative deck. So there's always a chance for you to do something, which I think is really cool because it means you don't really have player elimination until only one person is left standing, which is very cool. You also have special actions, which we saw on the end of the card, as you can see there, which is quite nice. You can push people into things, and you can kill them that way, which is very cool. So you can slam them up against walls or into traps and all that kind of stuff, which is nice. You do then have a few variants. So there's the time limit variant for those people who have analysis paralysis. There is no time for that within the halls of Khorne's Justice, this arena. You have the drafting variant. So instead of you getting a random set of these cards each turn, you can draft those, which will obviously extend the length of the game a little bit more, but it means that you can kind of tailor your deck to suit you, which is very nice. And then you also have a couple of different options for you to go down. So you can do the Kingslayer variant, you can do single combat, where it's 2 of you, which is very cool. And there's a chance that there's a random initiative card in there, which could be for either of you, which is quite nice. And then you can also do the team variant as well, which I think is quite cool. And in the team variant, you both obviously have your 2 initiative cards, but you choose who acts when those pop up, which is quite nice. Obviously, there's a few little things like gory details and that kind of thing there too. And then last but not least, I did say there were more characters. So if you, for some reason, have the rest of these characters in your collection, I have Tark Gruldor, Fexgor the Flayer, and Ortag Bloodbringer in my collection because they were part of the initial box set for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. And also he was free with White Dwarf, so I do have those to play around with. And then there is also Hagrith Doomhand as well, who's one of the additional characters. And I'm sure people online have probably added a few more characters into the mix as well. But it was really nice for them to kind of add this in to give you a few more fighters to choose from when you dive into playing your games. But that is Gorechosen in a nutshell. Really fun, quick, brutal, bloody style game. I love the artwork. I love the design. I really like the simple rules. There were a few things that I had to get my head around, because I was thinking things like, when it comes to the cards that you get, like, how do those move? It doesn't specifically say in the book, but then when you look at things like these cards, which are the critical injury cards, you will see where it talks about moving your thing from wounded to, well, from healthy to wounded and all that kind of thing, which is very helpful, obviously. And everything else is kind of very much described on the cards. So once you sort of play it through a couple of times, you will get the hang of it, and it is a lot of fun. So yes, Gorechosen, super cool board. Set up your fighters, dive in, have some fun as you smash each other to pieces on the tabletop. What's more fun than that, eh? So if you've maybe played a couple of games of Warhammer Age of Sigmar or Underworlds or something like that, and you want something to sort of, you know, wind down the night, why not dive into a little bit of bloodshed in Gorechosen? Now, as I said, you cannot really get your hands on this officially, obviously, now from Games Workshop, because it is very long out of print. But there are plenty of people online who have versions of this on eBay, so you can go and pick it up and give it a shout. I would also make sure to go and check out the Board Game Geek website, because they have got a few more clarifications, and also a few extra fans have put some fun things together as well on there too. But if you're looking for a fun skirmish game set within the world of Warhammer Age of Sigmar, this is definitely one to come and have a look at. As I said, it's really cool how this one sort of popped up and actually delivered a really fun game-based game experience in a box. You know, pick up 4 miniatures, have some fun, and it's something that I really want to see more of for Warhammer Age of Sigmar, that doesn't follow the same sort of style of game release that they've done. But you know, the sort of like the target boxes and all that kind of stuff. Where it's very much the same sort of game, just kind of like rebranded and redone. So it would be nice to see more of these sort of like unique options thrown into the mix. But of course, it costs money to produce these kind of things, so they're going to be once in a blue moon. But yeah, if you are looking for something a little bit fun to play, why not go and check out Gorechosen, find it online, dive in, pick it up, and have some fun. As I said, I was very lucky to be able to find this on eBay and snapped it up for a reasonable price. I think I got it for like 40 quid, something like that. But had fun painting the models. The game is really fun and quick and easy to dive into. And I'd like to hear what you folks have to say as well. So please, dive in, let me know your thoughts on Gorechosen. And yeah, like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Get the conversation going down below. That's the thing that I love the most, chatting with you folks about what you love about games, and in particular the focus of these videos. And obviously it's always nice to see the algorithm benefiting from things like that as well. Beep boop bop. But yeah, Gorechosen, very cool, awesome artwork, wicked game, fun rules, all that kind of good stuff. Dive in, give it a go, let me know what you think. If you have it in your collection, please obviously tell me what you thought of Gorechosen, and maybe you will break it out once again to have a little bit more fun. Oh, wow. I've been wanting to talk about Gorechosen for ages, but it is super cool. Definitely give it a look, and I'll catch you folks in another video very, very soon. Bye for now.